Hi. As many of you may have seen over the last week, there's been a lot of protests in regards to religious people drafting into the army. So there's been a lot of coverage and there's been a lot of footage of, people on the floor being immersed in water with chemicals and soldiers fighting women fighting men and men fighting women and random religious people beating up random soldiers, like people just in uniform, without weapons, with weapons, there's horses. It's been just a massive balagan. So basically, I want to explain to you what is going on, because myself, I was a bit confused to what the protests were about, why this sudden protests and why this sudden heat. Whilst I was learning here in Israel, there was, huge protests, but I didn't exactly know what they were about, and they passed, and then whatever. So basically, I want to explain to you what was going on. There was someone who got arrested, a son of a very prominent rabbi. He got arrested and put into jail because he didn't go to the drafting office to sort out the fact that he's religious, so he doesn't want to draft into the army. Now, the military, it's a huge, old, ongoing argument whether the military is a place for a religious person. I'm religious, I went to the army, I'm still religious, I've almost finished the army. I have many, many, many friends. I'm going to show you. Still religious, went to the army, finished the army religious. It is possible. There is Hesder. There's been Hesder for years, which is a program which takes boys who are in yeshiva, sort of readies them for the army environment, for the sort of non-religious environment of the army, and then, brings them back after the army to continue to be in a religious environment, a religious institute, and, further their expertise that they've sort of built up through that process, take it to another country, for example like Australia, South Africa, and build huge Zionist movements all over the world. Now, what was said at this protest, it shocked me. I was reading it this morning. There's things like, we lived through Pharaoh, we lived through the Spanish Inquisition, and we lived through Hitler. We outlived you. We'll fill the prisons the way we filled the diaspora. Not much bothers me, but that's just disgusting. I mean, you are basically comparing the draft of... Now, I'm a big believer in the fact that there is, two sections to this amazing miracle that we have of Israel. The spiritual strength and the physical strength. During the war, I always say this, and many of my friends say this, there wouldn't be the 6-Day War, the Yom Kippur War, all these wars that have like miracles, even Protective Edge, which has elements of it which were miracles, that wouldn't have existed not for the strength of the Torah learning that happens in the religious institutes. I'm a believer of that. Many people are believers of that. But the reality is there needs to be a military. So there is a system in place. Just like, we boast around the world that we are the only democracy in the Middle East. That is something that politicians say. It's something that, Zionist activists go around the world. Israel activists, just everyone, that's what we say. We are the only democracy in this reality. And part of democracy is that we follow by the rules given by the government, right? It's halakha, it's a law in the Torah that, you follow the rule of the government. Now, the rule of government is very small, very basic. All it says is if you don't want to go into the army, which is completely fine, all you do is you go to the drafting office and you give your reason, you sign a document and you're done. This guy who was arrested, put into prison, didn't do that. It's very simple. You don't pay taxes, someone's going to come knocking. If you don't go to the sign off in the military, someone comes knocking. It's a reality. And all these people coming out and protesting in their thousands, 10,000 was reported, protesting. It's, these are people who all they want to do is to learn Torah. So stop standing outside getting soaked by chemical water and touched by women. It's not part of something that, we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be setting an example, a light unto the nations. Go, stand up, go back and learn, okay? And go to the drafting office. My friends, many of them are exempt from the army. They're Israeli and they went to get an exemption, and to this day are still using that exemption to not go to the army. And I'm completely for that. But there is a Medina, there is a country that we have to protect, and we need our numbers. To wrap this up, yes, there is a media sort of onslaught sometimes on the religious people of Israel, and that is wrong. However, the protests and, you know, using hundreds of thousands of shekel a year on taxpayers' money to be able to control these protests doesn't really help the situation. So I hope I've sort of explained what's actually going on. I'm trying to not really put my opinion on anyone here. This is just the reality of the situation. This is the two sides, the two conflicts of what is going on, and I hope I've enlightened you somehow.